All right, what's going on, folks? I am joined with Nate for another episode of Adventure Talk Live, where we just kind of hang out, BS a little bit, catch up, tell adventure stories, talk about gear, and just have a good time. So, crack a cold one or some coffee or whatever you want, and just come hang out with us. We've got the chat going just in case anybody's got anything to say. We may kind of chime in and answer that, but it'll be mostly us just kind of telling stories and catching up. So, Nate, how you been, man?
Good evening. I've been doing pretty good. I can't complain. The AC's back on here, so life is good.
Living in the South without AC is miserable.
Like when I lived on the west side of Fort Worth, our apartment complex was like, call the emergency number when your AC goes out. But here now, like they're kind of just like, yeah, like it's cooler weather at least outside. And I'm like, like this is a problem. We need to fix this now.
Cooler weather meaning 92 and
Right.
only 99% humidity.
hmm
Yeah. Whew.
Exactly. So I'm enjoying it. I glad I'm able to catch up with you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for joining in. We haven't done one of these in a while, so it's fun.
For sure. For sure. So what is on the docket for tonight? What's new in your world?
I guess let's just start off kind of with the section or segment that we almost always cover, new gear. It seems like we're such just gear queers, gear junkies that we always get something between these. So what you got? Tell me why. Tell me how it's affected adventures or I don't know, prepping or camping or whatever you got it for. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I have a trip coming up this summer. It seems like Lindsay and I, we like make either a trip together or like we each get to go on a trip at some point during the summer that includes hiking, camping, maybe a mixture of both. And so everything that I got is kind of like related to that. I did grab a bunch of my new gear. REI has a great sale at the beginning of the summer every year. So sorry for like hey, you missed it, but like in the future, make sure you pay attention to like the Memorial Day sale at REI because I picked up some socks, which seem to be really good quality, but not like the price of all the name brand ones, which I'm for.
Is it just like
Um,
their house brand?
yeah, so they're all like REI brand, and like one of them is like a lightweight, one of them's a midweight. Because on I'll tell you a little bit later, the trip that I'm going on, we might be hiking at a higher elevation, so I might save like my midweight for like the cooler
Okay.
days, if you will. So there was some thought behind my gear, not just like grabbing stuff. And then I got a new sleeping bag this past spring, and it's massive though. Like it's a synthetic bag, but like the bag for it's really big. So I got a compression sack to help us out or to help me out on this backpacking trip.
This isn't
And
your huge slumberjack one, is it?
no,
Because that
that'll
thing's ginormous.
it is. That's like car camping, like 5-star level. Like
I mean,
it's
I'm sure
awesome.
it's super comfy, but
It
this is
is.
it's a synthetic bag, right?
It's a big Agnes bag that I got. Yeah, I think
Oh
sometime
yeah,
this
you told me
spring.
all about that. Sorry. I
No,
think I was
yeah,
just kind of combining the two.
you're good. I've actually been doing a pretty good job at storing it. Like they told me to store it basically not compressed, so like it doesn't. It works better if you don't compress it all the
Uh,
time. And so I store it like they do at REI. I put it like over a hanger and I just like throw it in my closet, in like our
that
spare
makes
bedroom.
sense. I've
Mhm.
never done that. I've always kept mine, just for easy storage, all packed up, but that totally makes sense.
Just keeps it fluffy.
Yeah.
So that's gonna defluffy it, if you will, to make sure I can fit everything in my backpack for this little trip I'm going on. Actually, not little trip, it's gonna be fun. But and then the last thing is some new hiking boots.
Boots. What'd you get?
Yeah, man, I got some obos.
Hobos,
Obos.
not
I don't.
hobos.
That's right. So OBOZ with a little bit of a wrong side. Um, OBOZ with a little line above the O. I forget what that means, but um,
It's not
yeah.
an umlaut. I don't know what that is. The umlaut's the dots.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
don't
I'm
know what that one
excited
is.
about them. They're pretty comfy, and yeah, I haven't worn them a ton, but I'm looking forward to it because they're waterproof. I needed waterproof, and they're got a lot of structure, but they aren't like super heavy. which is what I like, because I hate like feeling like I have like 5 tons of mud on each boot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what's the context? Are these hunting boots, hiking, warm weather? Like, what's the context for these?
So they're going to be hiking primarily. I could use them for hunting because they're a little bit darker. Like they don't have any like crazy, like, I don't know, standout stuff. Basically anything that I'm going through that much water with, or like a dewy field. They're kind of like an all around type, like anything outdoors type of boot. Like, granted, if it's going to be a dry desert hike, I'm not going to wear them because I don't want to, like, if you don't need the waterproof, all that does is keep in sweat, right? And so, but basically my point was to get them for this trip, and then kind of just have a good hiking boot that I can always say, like, that's what I need. Because sometimes I get something that is for everything, but it doesn't do each job well
for anything. Yeah,
exactly. So, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm struggling with right now, because after my last trip to the lease, a dude shot a rattlesnake down there. So I'm like, I need snake boots. And then the amount of turkey hunting and the amount of stuff I've done where I'm crossing streams, it almost seems like inevitably I'm going through at least 6 inches of water on any trip at some point. Like, well, I kind of want some sort of waterproof boot, not necessarily a knee high, but a taller waterproof boot. But I want something that's rugged too, because the amount of, obviously, the West Texas kicking rocks and kicking cactus. But those lacrosse boots, they held up pretty well, but they finally just gave out on me. I think I told you they sprung a leak about midway up, which is not fun, because you go through a couple inches of water, you're like, I'm good. And then it starts pouring in. You're like, nope. And then it fills up halfway. And so I need to find a new solution there. So I'm kind of struggling with do I get a snake boot that's waterproof, because they make good snake boots that aren't waterproof, and they make good rubber boots that aren't insulated, and they make some rubber boots that are insulated but get stinky but aren't snake proof. It's just hard to find everything all in one. So I'm struggling.
I agree with you. I thought I found that, but like when I went on that last turkey hunt with y'all, I got some like redhead boots, whatever it is, from Bass Pro, and I actually really like them, but they leaked. And I think whenever you go across, like when you try to fulfill all of those things, whether it be snake proof, waterproof, it's always where the ankle meets the top. Like it's like that ankle part that like you're walking around that just gets worn, even on cowboy boots. I feel like
I think that just has to flex the most, so it wears out easy. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. I when I think about it, the like shin guard things that I have, like the little wrap around my feet, might be an answer, because you can get like a decent size, like an 8-inch waterproof boot, and then maybe put those on top of it or something.
Yeah. And I think I made fun of you for having those, just because I wasn't used to like seeing them. So I was like, what are you playing soccer? Like, come on.
It was good, but it trained me kind of like having a phone case to not care about it as much. Like I would just be plowing through fields like that had cactus and stuff because it didn't hurt. But then the first time I walked around without those on, I was like, ow, 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 ow. Like I had to pay attention. But look into it.
Well, so it looks like what you've got though for hiking, I mean, that looks like a great solution. And you just wear them around and break up. You were telling me earlier offline about, boot break-in isn't quite what it used to be. So do you kind of have a plan for that?
So it's tough. Like I live in a pretty flat area, so I'm not going to just like walk around and go to Walmart with these on, because I don't want to mess up the tread as much. That's like driving a 4-wheeler on the highway. Like you're just messing up your mud tread.
And what's the problem?
You'd ride it on the side of the highway. And so believe me, I grew up in a southern town that happened a lot. Like you don't want to mess up your tread. So I got to figure out where I'm just going to go on a couple hikes with them. And then when we go to Colorado, we'll do a couple like smaller hikes before we go on our bigger one. But I personally think that boots now don't have as much break-in time, because there's more synthetic material and less like leather, which needed that like stretch and form and like, whatever. Now I'm not like, I need to know where my hot spots are. So
Yeah.
I can plan for those. But I think that's really like the quote unquote break-in time now, is just to figure out if the boot fits well, and then like what do you need to prepare for, like band-aids and moleskin wise.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think generally the materials are softer and have more flex versus leather. It's until you get it wet and then it dries and then wet and then it dries again a couple times that it really fits your foot. So I think you're right. It needs a little bit of more figuring it out and just getting used to it.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of new gear do you have?
I've
What did you grab?
got similar to your stuff sack. This is the Osprey 12-liter dry bag.
Nice.
So I've got a trip coming up, and I realize so often I hike and camp and explore in territory that's not bearatory, non-bear territory, that I don't really, I'm lazy about food storage and care. Because like worst comes to worst, a raccoon comes in your campsite and you're just like, yeah, get, run them off. But you can't really do that when it's a real bear. So I needed a dry bag to hang up for hiking in bear areas, and this is the lightest one I could find. It's like 1.5 ounces or something. It's crazy. It's
Nice.
super light. It's not real big, so I think we'll have a larger crew on this trek. So we'll probably need 2 of these. We'll probably need one other guy with something like this on that trek. But so far, I like it. I don't know how waterproof. Well, I think it'll be waterproof. I don't know how durable it's going to be. Like it looks like a lightweight, like ripstop type material.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing that I know, you snag it on one mesquite thorn or cactus and it just, it really or barbed wire especially, puts that ripstop to the test. But again, it's for backpacking and camping, not necessarily hunting. So I don't think I'll be taking it through that much barbed wire. So I got that.
Nice.
And then
a question about that.
Yeah.
Is there a rope associated with that? Like what's your plan for actually like hanging it up?
Good question. Paracord.
Oh, okay. That makes
I'll
sense.
take 550 cord, throw it over a limb. And then I think I'll probably just either I'll tie it off to the tree or I'll get one of those. Have you seen those Night Eyes? What do they call it? It's like a quick cam or something. Like it's like a carabiner with a snap and then like almost like a jam cam. That's what they call it. So it's like a cleat on there, so you can tighten it against that. But it's like all built into a carabiner. So
cool.
I'll probably get one of those.
Nice.
I don't know. I was looking at them the other day. I was trying to order one. They have aluminum ones and plastic ones, and all the aluminum ones were sold out. And I don't know, for only like a couple dollars more, I'd rather have the aluminum than the plastic. So I think I'll get one of those. And then other gear stuff. So this is kind of a smaller, more nitpicky item, but it's made by Tackfire, and it's an aluminum. So it's a Picatinny rail to GoPro quick plate adapter. So for putting a camera on my gun or on my bow, I've got a little rail section on the front of my bow. This will allow me to just basically mount this onto anything with a Picatinny rail. And then I can just use the standard GoPro quick plate to just take it on and off. So I don't have to have a dedicated camera rig. It can actually snap on and snap off. And I like that it's all metal, because a lot of stuff like this is really like chinksy and plasticky and like not even good plastic, but really poor quality. But this seems to be, it's just like a gun mount or a scope ring or something. And it was like $20. So, and
that's pretty cool.
Tackfire is the brand. But the logo is actually like upside down compared to how you would use it. Kind of weird. But I don't know. I look forward to testing it out. So I want to put it on my bow and just sling some arrows and just see what the footage looks like from that camera angle. Because I tried to film some stuff. I got one successful. It was my public land doe hunt, or the hunt where I killed a doe with my bow last year. I filmed that with the Tacticam. But there's so much camera shake. Those Tacticams, like they have a good camera angle, but they don't handle the shake really well. The new GoPros are so stabilized that even if it's not zoomed in as much and the camera angle is a little different, I really like how they stabilize. So that's what I'm going to try to film hunts and just anything where I'd be shooting with a gun or a bow and need to film it from that point of view. That's what I'm going to try. So
nice.
That's my new gear.
That's cool. It's very you. Like,
Yeah.
very specific problems that you needed to solve. You went out and solved it. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, nothing super exciting. Oh, I guess I'm trying out another holster for my Walther. So it looks like one of those Kydex holsters, but it's actually ABS, like what they make like automotive parts and
Oh.
like gun cases and stuff out of.
Mm-hmm.
So far, so good. I don't know. It doesn't really feel any different than Kydex, but I don't know. The super pushy salesman was telling me all the benefits of ABS. I'm like, yeah, it kind of feels the same to me, but I think it is a little bit softer. So I think on their end, it's a benefit that they can make one mold that kind of fits like 5 different guns instead of having to be super model specific.
Sure. Now, when you said what you just said, actually interested me. Oh, nice. Yeah. I like that. And you said that was and I'm not trying to like pick on you for the way you said it, but you said Walther. Is it Walther or Walter? Is there an H in there?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've always heard people saying. Always heard people.
Yeah, it's
can't
probably
see it.
too dark.
Yeah,
wait.
I can't.
Let's look at the bigger logo.
Nope.
Yeah. There's definitely an H in there.
Cool. I've always heard people say like Walter PPQ, or whatever, and I never knew it was Walther. Interesting.
Yep.
Walther. There you go. Cool. Well, that's pretty cool gear. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun trip. You were telling me a little bit about that. Bear country's always fun. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely something a little different for me. Well, you kind of spilled the beans earlier about mentioning Colorado. So tell me more about that.
So for my birthday, Lindsay got me a trip with my friends. Basically, she like got me the flight and was like, "Hey, you figure it out. Like, I'm giving you permission to go do this. You have fun." They already know about it. They took time off from work. Like, I basically organized the outline of it, and you go plan everything. And so, there's a couple different ideas came about. It was actually, we were swayed a little bit by how much snow is happening in Colorado. Like,
yeah,
my friend who lives in Southern Colorado in the San Juan Valley, like they got snow like 2 weeks ago. Like, goodness. There's he was telling me 150% snowpack this year. So 150% more than what they usually get. And so, yeah, what's from what I know now, what we're doing is we're going to do a float trip down the Rio Grande, maybe, but like up in Colorado. Yep. And I think we are. And it's the float trip's going to include, maybe it might be just like a day trip. We're going to do some fly fishing and some just like, I guess, reel casting, like spinner reel, if you will, fishing. Like, yeah. I call that traditional fishing. And so we'll do that. He got a new raft.
I call that practical fishing.
Yeah. Not making it hard on you. Yeah. Make the less hard fishing.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do that, going for some rainbow trout and stuff, which I've never done. I'm super excited about that because I've always wanted to like fish in rivers and catch something. I think I've done it once or twice and not really caught anything. And definitely never done it in Colorado. So that's a big part of it, or I guess a big highlight for me. And then the other big highlight is this loop that he has done a part of it, but he's like, if we can do this entire loop, it would be amazing. It's a couple different trails that include a couple different waterfalls, and then it connects to a part of the Continental Divide Trail in Southern Colorado. And so it's a 3-day, 2-night backpacking trip, 19 miles round trip. And a part of it could be going through some, like you had experience in Grand Tetons where you have to have an ice axe. And so we'll have to have those just in case. And so, if it ever gets too sketchy, we can always just like turn around. But yeah, it'll be fun. I've never done that. So be cool.
What I've never done that either, but what I've heard is around the CDT, like that whole trail network is so huge that there's so many options that you can, go back a mile, take another turn, and do a whole nother loop. It seems like there's a lot of, I don't know, just the number of trails and how they connect is like, it seems like it's infinitely more in Colorado than like around Texas.
That's very true. And honestly, I think this is my first like overnight backpacking trip ever. I
Oh,
think,
really?
yeah. And so I've done a lot of day hikes, I've done a few like downriver type trips, like
Yeah,
overnight trips, but I've never like, hey, put it on your back, lace up, let's go. And
dude, you'll
so,
be hooked. You'll love it. You'll love it. Like,
so
I
I'm
wish I did
excited.
it more. I have to, like, I make myself do one every year, and every time I do, I'm like, I smell like a dirty hippie and I feel disgusting and I have blisters on my feet. But that was just like, I feel so recharged and so refreshed, and I want to do it more. And then I get back in the grind and I get pulled away from it. And I'm like, I need to do one. And so I
Mhm.
make myself schedule one every year. And then every time I do it, I'm like, that was so awesome. So, dude, in Colorado, hiking a loop up there, you're going to freaking love it.
I'm super excited because I love just like fresh air, and like as much as I loved visiting New York City, it was really sad the quality of air that's up there. And like I know this is like something small, but like standing on a summit and just like breathing in fresh air is something I absolutely love. And so not to mention like being under the stars without seeing a city like nearby, like that'll be really cool too. So I
Dude,
could
that's
see
not
myself getting
something
hooked.
small at all. I think that's important to who you are, and I absolutely agree with you. I think if I never went to New York City in my life again, I'd be totally fine. If I never stood on a peak and overlooked a valley and had the wind in my face again, I'd be a different person.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. You're right. I mean, because I actually think about when I was in New York City, this is how sad it was. I went into not Central Park, but I went into a fairly big park and I was walking through, and you could even tell, even by that, like how much, like I was walking from like exhaust fumes, basically breathing those in, into like breathing some sort of like um fresh air.
You walk
And
like near a tree and you're like, ah.
and I was instantly happier. And so I could see like you might be talking to me in a month and being like, all right, I got 7 more trips planned this year. You want to come on 6 of them? So yeah, for sure. But like, and I've loved like the stuff that I've done so far, the day hikes that I've done. We've like Lindsay and I have gone to a lot of like name brand places, a lot of national parks. But what I'm excited is like going off, I say off the beaten path. Obviously, the Continental Divide is huge and very well known. But like when I think about, oh yeah, I'm just going to Southern Colorado to hike, and it's going to be amazing. Like it's just
Yeah.
really cool when like you find the place that the locals go to. Like I think about that when I'm traveling and try to find food places, and you end up at the diner, and like people people know your name by the end of like your hour-long meal there, and like you feel like you're like a part of a family. Like that's what I am excited about.
And you're not just some tourist in outdoor Disneyland. Like, come on, next, next.
Yep.
Like,
No, you're
you're
exactly
you're a
right.
part of it.
Yep. In 3 minutes, Old Faithful's about to go, like stuff like that. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, Old Faithful's freaking cool. But yeah, and that's what I'm excited about your trip too, with like the little bit that I know. Excuse me. The little bit that I know that it's not a part of a park system. Well, right?
Yeah. Well, so it's not a national park, I don't think. I think it's just US Forest Service, a US Forest Service area. It's not a
Hmm.
national park. We were originally looking at going back to Grand Teton, which I hiked last year, and it was just so beautiful up there.
Yeah, it is.
But we're going with a fairly large group, 7 people, which is way larger than I normally backpack with. Normally, like, I think 4 is honestly the ideal number. And if you're with good people, like, there's no problem with bringing more people, but it just adds a little bit to the complexity and how you bring tents and how you bring food. And for places where you need a permit to get in, it changes all that.
For
So
sure. If you
we were
think,
not able
yeah.
to get backcountry permits for Grand Teton for a group that big in any of the areas we wanted. Basically, all we could get was just like camping in very touristy areas, and we're like, nah, let's not do that. So we were like, well, we love Grand Teton, so what's another area that has similar mountains, similar climate? So we basically just drew a line straight west. So we're going to go to the Sawtooth Wilderness of Idaho. So there's some pretty mountains there, tons of lakes. The loop we're doing is not as long as what we originally planned. I think it's 26 miles all the way around, and we're going to do it in like 2.5 days. So it's not going to be an aggressive pace at all. So I'm basically just going to be the camera dork, trying to get lots of cool pictures and videos and just just enjoying it because it's not going to be a fast pace. So it should be fun, but it will be hiking in bear country. So I need to be a little bit prepared for that. And there is a permitting process, but it's a free permit. It's Forest Service land. So basically you just sign in at the box, and then I think you carry a tag on your backpack. So if you don't come back and like, oh, we found somebody out there, they know who it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
That's
See,
a super like logical, depressing way to, to view what that is, but it's a check-in procedure. It's not a permitting process, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. That sounds so cool. And that's what, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, like the outdoor Disney World. And that's exactly what you're not doing. And don't get me wrong, like if I could build a house somewhere, like Grand Tetons would be on like the top 5. Like, if I could just like build a place, because it's so picturesque. But I'm excited to see the
Jackson
photos.
is so freaking crowded now.
Yeah.
And like I met a guy up there who works as a guide, but then it's so hard for him to like find a place to live and make a living because there's just all these just billionaires who go retire up there. And then there's always the like even weird things like that annual meeting of the Federal Reserve that like books up all the hotels and stuff. Like there's a bunch of weird stuff like that in Jackson, Wyoming.
I did not know that. Wow. Go figure. Well, you said a bunch of lakes. Are you bringing like a collapsible fishing pole or something like that?
I am not. I may add that to the gear list. I think it's mostly just going to be kind of hike by them. And what I do like about it, though, is that I think I almost don't even, I always bring a Camelback. I think this trip, I could be potentially like the first one where I don't.
That's
just
cool.
Basically bring a small water bottle. Like there's going to be so much water that we could fill up and pump water wherever the heck we want, which is way different than like Southwest Texas, where you find like one mud hole after like miles and miles. And you're like, yeah, I could drink that, but you know, it's just like a muddy like puddle with like a cow turd in it. And you're like, yeah, no thanks.
And you're like, all right, let me carry all like 15, 20 pounds of water.
Yeah. So this is gonna be water everywhere. And especially with this year's snow, like you were saying in Colorado, just everywhere out west, just massive snow year. So there's gonna be water everywhere. But what I'm worried about is I think that means really bad mosquitoes. So I'm definitely bringing bug spray. So
you're right. I didn't think about that. I mean, it's gonna get down to the 40s for me. What are you going?
July.
Okay, so I'm going like in a week and a half, and that's when the trip starts, I should say. And I've been there before where like we just missed like the mosquito wave. And so I think it's like technically still spring there. And so I don't know if they're just coming out or what. I don't know. We'll see. I know it's going to get down to the 40s at night. Maybe a little bit colder, probably a little bit colder when we're at higher elevation. I just plugged in my like buddy's address. So we'll see, but I could see how like in July you could be a little bit warmer, even though you'll be a little bit higher, in Idaho.
And last year in the Tetons, I noticed there were mosquitoes everywhere. They were just, because it was still cool, they were just kind of lethargic. So one bites you and it's just like barely flying, and you could swat them really easily, but there were still tons of them.
Sure. Is that something where it's worth the wait to bring your Thermacell, or it's just bug spray?
I think just bug spray.
Yeah. I just told my dad about a Thermacell, like the one that I was like going through some hunting gear and stuff. I was like, check this out. And he was like, wait, what's that? Because he lives in southern Georgia, like a freaking swamp. And so he's like, send me a link on that. Like, he's like, I don't even care. I want to try that out. Because when like you're fishing, and like he's like the type of guy that like cracks a beer and like, fishes the bottom and fishes for anything that'll bite. Like that's just like classic saying. So if he can stay in a spot and just enjoy the sun, enjoy like the weather, like he'll love it. Because it's either that or he's shrimping. And so I think he's going to pick one up. So I got to talk to my buddy about that, though, see if we need bug spray or whatnot. Because I think that's one thing.
If you're sitting in one spot, the Thermacell is really good because it basically makes like a cloud around you, which also it does make me a little hesitant. Like I still use one because it works so well, but it makes me suspicious about, it works so well because it's pumping a bunch of chemicals in the air and there's no way you're not breathing it. So I feel like it's one of those things that like everybody uses right now. And then you know, 30 years from now, we're going to be like, oh, that was awful. We're going to learn something about it. But so it makes me a little nervous, but they work so effectively that there's, I think sometimes they're just a great thing to have. But because we're going to be moving around so much, I'm not going to like spark it up all the time and carry enough of those little canisters and wipes to like keep it going the whole time. So I think I'm just, you know, just deep woods off is probably where I'm going.
I got you. Well, that sounds awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it for you. I wonder what kind of, whenever I go to a new area or hear about your adventures, I always think about the wildlife that's in that area. Since Lindsay and I went on our national park tour, like it was nothing I thought about outside of bear country. It was either like bear country or not bear country. It's kind of how I went through, or like rattlesnake or not rattlesnake country. It's kind of how I went through, like, okay, what's in this area?
What's gonna bite me here?
Bingo. But ever since we went to Glacier and I saw pika and I saw a marmot, I was just like, these things are awesome. There's like fluffy little things around all like everywhere. And sometimes they're nice and sometimes they try to steal your food, but like these things are awesome. So like I think about like cool things you can encounter that are like safe. And so I'm excited because like you could have all types of fish, or you could have whatever type of animals like up in, you know, your neck of the woods and my neck of the woods, whatever.
Yeah, down, especially both of us being from the South, like seeing even something as simple as a pika, like people up, I guess in the Northwest, see them enough that it's no big deal. But down here, we're like, guys, I just saw a beanie baby.
That's so true. That is so true.
Little fluff ball.
I was trying to think of like, they're kind of like a mouse potato. Like, I don't know. They're all kind of like different things, but a beanie baby is like the perfect way to explain that.
There's a beanie baby on a rock.
That's right.
Mouse potato is a pretty good description as well.
Yeah. And the first time I heard a marmot speak, I was like, what the heck was that? You know? You know?
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah, being a down south Georgia boy, like, you know, alligators, I don't even blink an eye at, but like seeing those things, I'm like, holy smokes, check that out.
The closest thing you probably have to a marmot's like a nutria, and you're like, yeah, don't get close to that. Like you're gonna get rabies for sure.
For sure. People get excited about armadillos, and you're like, that's a speed bump.
Dude, I had a friend. It was actually like way back. It was my first college roommate, and I probably told you this story, but he was from Colorado, and I'm sure they have armadillos in Colorado, but he had never seen one and never heard one. So I said something about like, oh yeah, armadillos all the time or something. He's like, what is that? And I was trying to describe it to him. I'm like, yeah, it's like a giant roly-poly with a rat's head and a snake's tail. He was like, no, that can't be the thing.
We're not in the Cretaceous period. Okay, cool. That's funny. That is. I call them turtle rats, but I could see how like a roly-poly with a snake tail and a rat's head.
Pretty much.
That's funny.
Well, this trip is going to be very different from my last trip, which I was down in Florida, and it was just beautiful down there. And I am convinced that Florida beaches beat California beaches like it's not even close.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's just the California beaches I've been. Like I haven't really explored Northern California much, but all the like touristy Southern California where you like fight a ton of people to sit on this dirty beach to get your lawn chair crammed in with everybody else's, and then the surf just like beats you up and the sand is still really rough. And I compared that to like I was in between Destin and Panama City. And I went out there, you know, we were doing like super touristy thing, family vacation for most of the time. So you go out, you know, at noon and it's still a really crowded beach. But due to the time of the year, the sunrise was really, really early. Like I think it was like 5:35 or something. And so I went out to try to get the sunlight bite and go fishing. And so I got out there at 5 a.m. There was one person on the beach about 400 yards away from me. Nobody else. I had the place to myself. Beautiful sunrise. It was just like white sands, like mild surf. It was beautiful. And so I'm convinced that Florida beaches are the way to go.
Yeah. I need to take you home sometime, to my home. And oh, it's amazing. And when you were talking about that, I agree with you. I think the California beaches are cool, but I think that they almost serve two different groups of people. I think that the California group is a lot of Instagram people, but that's actually not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like adventure people, like windsurfing, surfing, what am I thinking?
Oh yeah,
Um,
surfing is definitely way better in California, like for
right.
sure.
Like yeah, volleyball, all that kind of stuff. And granted, you were on the Gulf side too, so that's definitely a different story, even from like Atlantic Florida. But I think when you think about Florida, I think it's relaxing. I think that people
Yeah,
are just home, like they're chill. I mean, that's why people always talk about retiring to Florida, right? It's just like a slower pace of life, and it's awesome.
yeah.
I completely agree with you. I hope to take you sometime on a trip on my dad's boat. Well, we go out to this barrier island, and if you wake up at the, crack of dawn and you're taking that boat out in the intercoastal and it's just like glass and you're watching the sunrise, there's rarely a thing that I can find that's better than that.
Yeah,
And
that
then
sounds
having like a
awesome.
beach to yourself, like for sure. We'll need to do that
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah,
Did,
that
did,
sounds awesome.
did you catch anything?
So the first day, I didn't have even a real surf rod. I had, basically a catfish rod is what I call it. So it's like a surf rod, and I had 20-pound braid on it, and I think it
Yeah.
was a 7-foot heavy. So it's not a real surf rod, but I can cast it far, and I can cast something heavy.
And it's
So
big
I'd
and
kind of,
ugly.
yeah, basically, I'd walk out to the first sandbar, and I had 2 ounces of lead. At first, I had an ounce of lead, and the surf was still pushing it. So I had 2 ounces of lead on there, and I just put a shrimp on a circle hook, and then just chuck it as far as I could, and then walk that back to the beach, stick it in the sand, and then I'd go stand on the sandbar, with just a little light spinning rod, and I would just put either I kind of alternated between a jig and a spoon, and I was just kind of casting in the hole behind the sandbar, trying to catch like pompano or trout, and I never even got anything on that. But on the far out, the long line I was using, I caught a little hammerhead, so that was cool. It was like
Yeah.
2 feet long,
Yeah.
maybe a little bigger than that, not 3 feet long, but and I expected a small shark to fight pretty good, but I've definitely caught bass that fought way more than that thing. Like
Wow.
it was kind of like catching a catfish. Like I just kind of drug it across the sand. Like it didn't really fight. It was just like it just kind of gave in.
She's
And
like,
at first I thought, yeah, at first I thought I was tangled up in a bunch of seaweed, but we were
Mhm.
there before the June bloom, so there wasn't a bunch of seaweed. So then I was like, I guess I got something. So drug that in. I got a couple pictures of it that I put on Instagram. I didn't have my big camera, so I just took phone pictures, but it was cool just to catch a little hammerhead because I never caught one of those before. Then
Yeah.
went out the next day and caught some bluefish,
Hmm.
which those, I don't know. Apparently, some people regard them as like not great eating fish. They are a game fish and they are edible and there are recipes for them. But a lot
Mhm.
of people will catch them when they're trying to actually catch like mackerel or cobia or something like that. And so
Mhm.
caught a couple of those and I'm like, well, I've never caught them. I think just about anything can be cooked and eaten if you do it right. So let me just try it. So caught 3 legal bluefish. We cooked those up and they were pretty good. Not
Cool.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
it was okay,
Mhm.
but it was just cool catching something different.
No kidding. Like that's a fun experience. It's a new experience for you. Like that's cool. And it also makes you second guess walking in, walking
Yeah.
in and just swimming around. Like,
Oh, and we definitely saw a shark swimming.
oh my
Like,
gosh.
like it was probably about 6 or 7 foot. I didn't see it well enough to know if it was like a nurse shark or a lemon shark. I couldn't see what it was, but
Mhm.
we were swimming out there and we're like, yeah, that was definitely a shark that went by. It
Man.
wasn't it wasn't a porpoise. Like we saw it a couple times and we're like, yeah, that was definitely a shark.
And that, like, granted, everybody thinks of, or at least I think of Jaws, when you think of that, and that's not always the case. Maybe it is on California because they have some big sharks out there. That's for darn sure. But like, I don't know. It just makes you fishing near the shore makes you aware of your surroundings. And
Yeah. Yeah.
also, even without seeing that now, like having that experience, I don't think Lindsay would ever go in the water again. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Dude, and like shark attacks are so rare.
Mhm.
Like they're rare in general, but then when you really think about how many sharks there actually are, and if you start catching them and you start like being aware of how many freaking sharks there are, the rarity makes it even more I don't know, not impressive, but like it really makes you put it into perspective.
Yeah,
Like,
especially with how many people are in the water, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I think that like that movie definitely skewed people. Like, and like sharks just get a bad rap
yeah,
because of that. And it's kind of sad because obviously you were in the water and it didn't bug you and whatnot. I just think it's really interesting sometimes the naivety of people walking to the ocean thinking that it's their pool. And it's
yeah,
like, no, there's probably like, a crab that's a foot away from you that you could step on. There's like a couple fish that are swimming right around you. You don't even know. And
yeah.
I think that's what I love about fishing so much is that like you just kind of interact with it. I would love to scuba dive someday because I think that'd be really cool to see what's really down there. But
Yeah, I have a buddy who just got his global scuba certification, and I saw him post that on Facebook or Instagram or something, and I was like, "Oh, that seems something. That seems like something I would like." Seems like all these semi-obscure hobbies that involve gear and adventures, and I would love. Oh, a total random story. So I was coming home from work. I was actually doing a photo shoot, and I was driving home from a place about an hour and a half away, and it was like approaching sunset, golden hour, and then over the horizon, I saw two hot air balloons. And I was like,
dang.
dude, somebody's flying hot air balloons. And I'm like, wait a second. I have all my camera gear with me. How perfect. And I was supposed to meet somebody, and I felt like a total ass because I was just like, yeah, hold on. There's hot air balloons, and it's almost golden hour, and I got to chase them. And so I just went driving off. I didn't know where I was going. I was just looking up in the air, trying to find these hot air balloons, trying to drive them. And I like kept navigating around these fields. And then I was like, okay, the wind's coming from the south, so I need to get north of them. And I finally got it right. And I got under a road, and they went right over the top of me. And I got some
That's
really
cool.
good photos. So I'll be
Wow.
posting those. But it's just one of those things that like, just a random Thursday. Who else got beautiful sunset hot air balloon pictures? Like that's what life's about. Go out and chase hot air balloons. Go get them.
That's really cool. And you definitely do pick the like most expensive hobbies.
Or just
Like
like obscure. Like I'm the
obscure.
guy that my friends will call me at like 11 o'clock and be like, "Can I borrow your metal detector?" I'm like, "I don't have a metal detector." They're like, "Oh, you just seem like the type of guy who would have a metal detector."
You're right. Like you're a gear junkie for sure. But like I just think like scuba diving, my dad used to be like a master diver, like master
Oh wow.
certified. He did that in between some jobs he had in like when he was younger. And he was just like, I would love to get back into it, but it's so expensive. Like we
Yeah.
had that conversation like 3 days ago because he just retired, and I was just trying to talk with him and get his mind going about what he's going to do in retirement and whatnot. Besides take me on fishing trips. So we'll see, or shrimping trips or scalloping trips or stuff like that. But I love it. I love being outdoors. I hope we can do that sometime. I know we're supposed to go fishing this weekend, but hopefully we can do it another time soon.
Yeah, definitely go fishing. And dude, I think it'd be awesome to both get our scuba certification and learn to do that. I think I've enjoyed it. I've snorkeled a bit, and I know you have too.
Mhm.
But watching Delos, so for anybody
Mhm.
watching or listening, we're both big fans of the SV Delos channel, and a lot of their diving adventures has got me a, a lot more fired up about it. Like it really has not changed my mind because I've always thought it was cool, but it's inspired me a little bit more to actually want to do it.
For sure. I think that's one of those things that I want to like on my bucket list is to like touch two continents at once in Iceland. Like they did that at one point. But even just going under the water and kind of just seeing stuff, I think it would be just super cool. Spear fishing would be super cool. Gosh, like when you start doing that type of stuff, you just open up a lot of different cool opportunities.
Well, and there's so many things like, especially right now, spearfishing for lionfish. It's like the equivalent of hog hunting. People are just
Yeah.
like, just kill them all, get rid of them, and you can have a lot of fun. And I imagine chartering a boat to go out and do it can get pretty expensive, but that's got to be so much fun.
Oh, for sure. Also think of lobstering. I
Yeah,
mean, in like South Florida and stuff. Now you don't need
spiny lobster. Yeah, not
yeah.
trapping them, but catching them. Yeah,
Right. And there are some other ways besides scuba diving to do that. Like you can have like a little fin on the back of a boat and kind of just dive down and like pick them up and stuff. My uncle used to do that.
but
But
I like the scavenger hunt, like just going and
yeah.
finding them. That's awesome.
For sure. For sure.
I
Well, it
mean, if you
sounds like
break it
we've
down too much, you're just like turning over rocks looking for bugs, but still, like, it sounds pretty cool.
It's like the fancy version of crawfishing.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. Well, I'm excited to hear like and see all of your different stuff, especially with a shorter loop. You will be able to stop and take pictures and do all that stuff. So that'd be cool.
And I tend to be the guy who hikes in the back. It's kind of funny how people like in group hiking trips, people kind of find either there's like the pole position guy or somebody who always likes being in the middle. I almost always like being caboose just because I can like, take a picture of this cool bug or turtle or this cool, like, and I'm like, okay, just go on. I'll catch up.
That's really
so
funny.
I find myself always in the back.
On the tail end of that, do you like bring a book with you, or do you have like resources where you look up the bug or the butterfly or stuff like that?
Nah, a lot of times, like after I get back, I'll be like, "What was that thing?" And then half the time, I'm like, "Oh, that was really poisonous."
Oh yeah, shoot! I came like 3 inches away from that thing trying to get a cool picture.
But nah, like I've brought like a constellation, like because I feel like so much camping and hunting, like under the stars, and I'm like, I don't really know any of those constellations, so I've tried to learn that, but then I find myself caught up so much in the moment that I'm not motivated to stick my head in a book. I'm like, I'd rather be experiencing it.
Yeah, that's actually what I've been doing lately when it comes to taking pictures of stuff. Like I know like you love taking pictures and whatnot, but like there's some times where I like intentionally leave my phone in my pocket or leave it at home so I am present in the moment, just living life through my eyes and my lens versus the lens of a phone or whatever. And so it's that balancing act, because it's cool to be able to look back and be like, that was a cool trip, and like to almost like relive that restoration. But then it's also cool to like experience full restoration in the moment when you're there. So
absolutely. Well, man, this has been great, and I think we've got lots of exciting adventures planned. So I look forward to hearing. You're just kind of talking right now about your plan for Colorado, but after you've truly gone and experienced it and fished and maybe rafted the river and then hiked that trail, like you're gonna have so many stories after that. And then my Idaho trip, I'm sure I'm gonna have stories. Like we're gonna need to catch up after that because that's gonna be awesome.
Yes, we can book another date in July. We'll make it happen.
Well, anything else on the top of your mind that you want to include in this thing?
Oh yeah. So my parents just left this morning. Yeah, this morning. And sorry, it was a while. I've been up for a while doing a bunch of stuff, but my parents left this morning. It just makes me think of Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yes,
potential fathers, former fathers, all that stuff. Like sometimes it's a day for people to celebrate. Sometimes it's a tough day for loss, but I hope people can enjoy and experience it with somebody wherever they're at.
Yes, absolutely. So happy Father's Day to any dads out there listening.
Awesome. Have a good one, buddy.
All right, you too, man. Thanks for everybody listening. Until next time, stay safe, be free, and never stop seeking adventure.